Let's bring in Peter Culp, Democratic strategist and founder of Culp Law, and John Loudon, political strategist and former Republican state senator in Missouri. John, did you hear President Trump say that Mexico would pay for the wall, and how do you square that with his explanation today?
Well, first of all, you have to understand the minute that he showed his veracity to secure the border, he had the support of America. And when he said he was going to make Mexico pay for it, I think every Republican on the stage with him knew that their chances of being president was over. That was one of the greatest promises in all politics. But I don't think any American expected Mexico to write a check. This is the first time I've heard about the memo where he specifically said they're going to make a one-time payment. He actually, in fact, laid out a handful of scenarios whereby money, that there would be taxes or tariffs or a variety of ways, money transfer wires out of America down to Mexico would have fees attached to them, what have you. He laid out a whole bunch of scenarios where ultimately they would pay for it. And I think for most Americans, securing the border is awesome. Getting Mexico to pay for it would just be fabulous.
Well, I suppose it would be fabulous, and maybe Peter, maybe that was just a sort of a throwaway memo that he gave, that his campaign gave the Washington Post to get the Washington Post off of his back.
I don't know. I always relate these back to our own personal life. If you went to your wife and said, I'm going to pay for that purse, and then you come back and say, well, I bought groceries yesterday, I'm not going to pay for this purse. I don't think it flies. It seems like another scenario where Trump is saying the people are behind me on this one, and he's turned his back to the people, frankly. All the people that are furloughed right now are probably don't feel like they should be held hostage, used as a pawn for his wall, which we all know you could dig a hole underneath a wall, a metal wall.
But what about the argument that maybe Donald Trump should not have been taken literally when he was running for president of the United States, that people should have somehow divined to understand his intention in all of this?
Well, he specifically outlined, and I think John mentioned some of the things that he would do if they didn't pay for the wall. He said that they would raise tariffs on them. He would force them to pay more visa fees if they did not pay for it. So I think we believe that he was going to cajole Mexico into paying for this wall.
John, if the president had a whole sort of plan of how he was going to get Mexico to pay for the wall, maybe it wasn't writing a check or a wire transfer, but maybe it was, as Peter says, a tariffs or whatever. If the president has been unable to do that so far, why should anybody then trust his credibility that the border is a national security crisis?
Well, everybody instinctively knows the border is a national security crisis. It only became not a security crisis to Democrats as a reaction to Trump supporting it. It's amazing watching the hypocrisy of all the Democrats flip and say it's not a problem anymore. It's clearly a problem. 400,000 people walking across the border.
You are absolutely right. 400,000, but John, that's only a little bit more than last year. That's about half as many as 2 years ago. And when you compare 400,000 to the 1.6 million that tried to cross in 2000, this is far less of a crisis than it was back then. So I think the argument is it's not a new crisis, right?
Yeah. Well, but I'm not following that it's suddenly not a crisis. 400,000 people. Understand, I don't know what the cost is when one person has to be fed, clothed, housed, educated, treated in our hospitals. I don't know what the cost is per, but 400,000 annually or $1 million annually is a massive, monumental expense. And what has changed is the court pressure that says, well, we can't send them back. We can't confine them. They brought kids, so we have to put them up in hotels and what have you. All that's changed. This is becoming overwhelming.
Nobody's saying they have to be put up in hotels.
Well, certainly there are watchdogs all over the country inspecting every facility to make sure that it's super comfortable and people are getting sued left and right to make sure that the treatment's perfect.
They're just making sure they're safe, not super comfortable. But
how
Peter, to his point,
how do you house millions of people? I mean,
Peter, to his point, what do you do with all these people, regardless of how many that there are?
Well, and I was a former prosecutor. No, I was a former prosecutor, and I know the cost of what Trump's saying, prisons and stuff like that they talk about these numbers. But John, you're not saying that putting a wall, whether it's 12 feet, a metal wall. President Trump went down to the border today and was shown that there's actually, where there are places that are walls, there's literally tunnels that are dug under them. They're 2 feet wide
Sure there are.
by 25 feet. So why do we think that spending $5 billion, if you're concerned about all these costs, that $5 billion building this wall is not going to have more tunnels under it?
John?
No, actually, it's a great cost. I would much rather spend $5 billion building a wall and lower the number down to 100,000 crossing annually through tunnels. You know, you build. Look at Israel. Look at all around the world where people build walls to secure themselves. Sure, then now your problem. You have to adjust and watch for tunnels. But the idea that somebody might build a tunnel, therefore we shouldn't build a wall, is just silly. There are walls all over America. There are walls. I love the president's beautiful line. Politicians put walls around their houses, not because they hate people outside, but because they love the people inside. I can't imagine the left in this amazing position where, because the president wants to secure the border, they're fine leaving it wide open.
I think the issue is that they don't want to leave it wide open. I don't think they want to leave it wide open. What they want to do is take some issues that would actually have an impact. And again, there's some credibility questions with the president because he said Mexico's going to pay for it. And now he says that they won't. We got to leave it there.
Not going to. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. A drone's not going to do it either. John Loudon and Peter Kolb, thank you both for coming on. We appreciate it. Good to have you both.